So this is Chapter 4, Section 4. We are going to work on factoring quadratic expressions. Our learning objective, we have two, is to find common and binomial factors of quadratic expressions and to factor special quadratic expressions. If after the end of these notes you are confused, the best way to get better at factoring quadratic expressions is to practice, practice, practice. I've included a practice worksheet for your practice today. If you still need more practice, there are plenty of questions in your book. In section 4-4, you can use this practice. So the definition of factoring is rewriting an expression as a product of its factors. So we want to know, we're going to unfoil these expressions. So if you write down x squared plus 9x plus 20 on your paper, we want to know which two binomials make that x squared plus 9x plus 20 when we FOIL it out. So I know, I look at my first guy here, x squared. The only way to get an x squared, besides multiplying a 1 and an x squared together, is if I had an x and an x. So that multiplies together to give you x squared. And then there's several ways I can make 20. I can go 5 and 4. I can go -5 and -4. I can go 20 and 1, or -20 and -1. I can go 2 and 10, or -2 and -10. But I use this middle term to tell me which of those possibilities I'm going to use. Which two numbers out of the ones that I've listed multiply to give me 20, but add to give me 9. Yeah, that is going to be the 5 and the 4, plus 5 and plus 4. So you're asking yourself which two numbers are factors of my third term and sum to give me my middle term. So we are going to do that. I'm going to show you guys that several times. So for 40, 4 and 10 multiply to give me 40. They also add to give me 14. Well, here a little bit harder. That's okay. Because now I have a -72. So to get a negative number, one of those guys is going to have to be positive, and one of them is going to have to be negative. So factors of 72 is at 9 and 9 times 8, or -9 and +8. What are some other factors of 72? Because -9 plus 8 is -1, and it's not 14. So then we can go 36 and 2, or -36. 18 and 4. Oh, now we're...
No, 18 and negative.
Right, so we could do either one, 18 and 4 or -18 and +4. So you start looking at your possibilities. If you don't know which 72 factors, I know that 72 is even, so I know at least 2 goes into that, and I can start dividing out my 2's. The one that equals +14 out of these possibilities is +18 and -4. So the two numbers that multiply to give me 30 and add to give me negative 11. So let this number dictate the sign of your factors. I want my two items, two numbers to add to give me a negative number, but multiply to give me a positive number. So it has to be two negatives. So negative 5 and negative 6 is where I'm going to go with that. We could also look at negative 30 and negative 10, but that is equal to negative 13. We could also look at negative 15 and negative 2, but that's negative 17. This is the only one who multiply to give us 30 and add to give us negative 11. All right, what do we do when we have a negative in front of our squared term? Well, doggone it, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to factor out a negative 1. So if I factor out a negative 1, it changes the sign of everything in those parentheses. The negative 1 stays on the outside, and then I factor my inside just like I would if I had a positive. So two numbers that multiply to give you 12 and add to give you negative 13. Yeah. Negative 12, negative 1. Other possibilities are negative 4, negative 3, or negative 6, negative 2. And the one that adds up to give you negative 13 is negative 12 and negative 1. All right, let's see that one more time. We factor out the negative 1. It changes the sign of everything in my parentheses. In this case, I want two numbers that multiply to give me negative 30, so I know that one has to be negative and one has to be positive. So negative 32, that's like 8 and 4, or positive 8 and negative 4. There are 16 and 2. Or 16 and negative 2. There's 32 and 1. Or 32 and negative 1. The one that adds up to give us negative 14 is this one right here, negative 16, positive 2.